Fred Hillman, the Vice Chancellor of Griffith University, Professor Roy Webb, colleagues from Griffith University, and also colleagues from the Advisory Council of the Gold Coast campus, graduates, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this graduation ceremony. One of the most rewarding events in the academic year is the formal presentation of awards to graduating students. Tonight, on behalf of the Chancellor of Griffith University, Mr. Justice McCrossan, I'm delighted to welcome you all this evening and to thank you for joining us as we congratulate our graduates on their academic achievements. The testimonies presented tonight mark the completion of years of personal dedication and effort. I should also like to extend a special welcome to our guest of honour, Professor Fred Hillman, and he will be introduced to you in more detail later on this evening. Professor Hillman, as you probably all well know, is Professor and Director of the Management of the Graduate School of Management, the Australian Graduate School of Management. We are particularly pleased that he has joined us this evening, and we look forward to his occasional address later in the proceedings. Professor Hillman has, of course, made a very positive contribution to management and to business education and to the economic approach of this country. Griffith University has a short but remarkable history. In the space of 25 years, it has grown to become one of the largest multi-campus universities in Australia, with a current student population of some 21,500. It has 5 campuses, well established in the Brisbane Gold Coast corridor, and a 6th under construction at Logan, also in that corridor, of course. And by next year, Griffith will be the 8th largest Australian university in terms of funded student load. Managing a multi-campus university is a complex business. Last year, the governing body, the University Council, approved a new academic structure for the university. The new structure, to be implemented on July 1 of this year, will play an important role in the future of Griffith University and, of course, the future of the Gold Coast campus. New faculties and new schools based on the 4 broad academic areas of arts, business, health and science will be established to provide a framework for cross-faculty and cross-campus teaching and research. This new academic structure will strengthen the academic coherence of the university and provide increased opportunities for the delivery of courses at multiple sites. Over the past 5 years, the university's Gold Coast campus has experienced very rapid growth. Student numbers have increased from 2,600 in 1992 to over 5,500 this year. With the additional growth places scheduled for the university, the Gold Coast campus can expect a population of some 6,500 by the turn of the century. This rapid growth has, of course, placed considerable strain on facilities, as students well know, and it has been a priority of the university to provide additional buildings to accommodate the growth in student and staff numbers. An amount of some $50 million has been allocated and a significant number of buildings have been constructed in recent years. The Link building, which incorporates the training restaurant, accommodation for the student guild, the student refectory and commercial outlets, was opened in late 1995. Last year, 1996, new engineering laboratories, faculty offices and stage 1 of the Information Services building were completed. new lecture theatre complex, stage 2 of the Information Services building, and new drama facilities are now open. Construction of a visual and performing arts building and additional laboratories, and the refurbishment of older buildings to provide additional teaching areas and office accommodation is well advanced. The university has recently signed a major contract with Wang Australia for an upgrade to Griffith's telecommunications backbone. Where once universities conducted their business in a cloistered environment, the increasing globalisation of education now demands that we are more responsive to the needs of students and to the communities in which we operate. The information revolution of the 1990s, as evidenced by the universal applications of the internet, has changed the way in which we receive and interact with information. The rapid development of telecommunications technology has had a profound impact on all sectors involved in the delivery of education. Students today use computers and related technology as an integral part of the learning process. The challenge for the higher education sector is to find the best way of merging traditional methods of teaching with flexible delivery modes, whilst maintaining the ability of students to develop by interaction with both fellow students and academics. The telecommunications upgrade at Griffith will permit high-speed transmission of image, sound and data via a microwave link that connects the university's Nathan, Mount Gravatt, Gold Coast and of course Logan campuses. The advantages to staff and students will be considerable. Access to computing networks will be enhanced and students will have greater flexibility in their selection of teaching and learning modes. Significant work is being undertaken by the university and its staff to develop subject content suitable for delivery in a number of formats, which will include print-based material, audio and videotape, the transmission of lectures between campuses and the use of interactive multimedia. All new buildings at the Gold Coast campus have been constructed with the use of this new technology in mind. This evening, ladies and gentlemen, our graduates come from the Faculty of Business and Hotel Management. The faculty has a well-deserved reputation for excellence in teaching and learning, and it has recorded further significant achievements over the past year. The Faculty of Business and Hotel Management continues to attract strong demand for its undergraduate and its postgraduate courses. A Bachelor of Business in Food Service Management and new majors in Club and Gaming Management and Public Sector Financial Management were introduced this year, 1997. The faculty has expanded its postgraduate profile with the introduction of a Masters in Organisational Psychology and a Masters of Clinical Psychology. Both of these master's degrees articulate at the doctoral level, and both have been developed to offer the advanced professional training and research skills required for leadership and research positions within the profession. In 1996, the School of Tourism and Hotel Management and the Faculty of Business and Hotel Management was awarded the Queensland Tourism Award for Industry Training. And what's more important, this was the third consecutive state award for the school. The school has a close working relationship with the tourism industry, including the Queensland Tourist and Travel Corporation, the Gold Coast City Council, the Gold Coast Tourism Bureau. The school's Centre for Tourism and Hotel Management Research has been appointed by the South Australian Government to undertake the development of a tourism strategy for that state. It has also conducted a number of research projects associated with the staging of the Gold Coast Indy Carnival and Race. Let me me return now to focus on our gathering this evening. We have gathered to give rightful recognition to you, our students, who have completed your course of study and who will shortly receive your awards. All of you have demonstrated a command of the knowledge and skills necessary for your chosen field of endeavour, as well as a willingness to persist with the level of discipline needed for high achievement in any field. Together, these qualities provide an excellent foundation for establishing a successful career. You are entering a very competitive world with a growing global focus. In particular, in Australia, we need to make our way in what will be an increasingly competitive Asian Pacific region. I encourage you to use your tertiary education as a sound base on which to build your career, recognising that in many ways you are now embarking on a lifelong learning experience. As we continue with tonight's proceedings, I again express warm congratulations to each of our graduates and wish them every success in the future. Thank you. It gives me pleasure now to call on Professor Michael Irving, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Health in the Gold Coast, to present a report on the activities of the Gold Coast campus during calendar 1996.
Deputy Chancellor and members of the University Council, Vice Chancellor, Chairman and members of the Advisory Council of Griffith University Gold Coast, Professor Hilmer, staff of the University, distinguished guests, graduates, family and friends. I'm delighted to have this opportunity to welcome you to this graduation ceremony for the Faculty of Business and Hotel Management and to report on the academic activities of the Gold Coast campus in the last 12 months. 1996-1997 was a year of considerable achievement for this campus and was an outstanding year for our students. It was pleasing to note that increased HECS charges did not deter students from wishing to enrol at this campus. There was a 5% increase in applications, with over 14,500 students applying for less than 2,000 commencing places at our Gold Coast campus. The quality of students enrolling in the Gold Coast courses has remained high, and several courses had the highest entry scores of any Queensland university. This faculty is particularly pleased to be part of the Graduate School of Management at Griffith University, which, together with its Nathan campus, has the biggest MBA program in Queensland. During this year, we've also commenced at the Gold Coast a second stream of the MBA program, the MBA International, and those students are enjoying their studies in the rather delightful views looking across the Broadwater here at Southport. Staffing has been a key feature with the continue to improve the quality of the teaching staff in this faculty during 1996. We appointed the first chair in hotel management, Professor Richard Morey from Cornell University, and we're also particularly pleased to be able to employ a significant number of proper soil and associate professor positions from universities throughout the world. Our students can only benefit from having staff with such a high academic profile. As the Deputy Chancellor mentioned, that there's been a large amount of capital works undertaken at the Gold Coast campus, with approximately $37 million being expended in 1996. As you can see, the engineering building, which apart from being visually attractive, was opened by the Premier in June last year and has state-of-the-art facilities in terms of civil and construction engineering. We're also pleased to report that it's acting to nucleus to develop other engineering programs in fields such as environmental engineering and coastal engineering. The Information Services Building, stages 1 and 2 were completed several weeks ago, and it is a great use to students in terms of having state-of-the-art facilities. The Faculty of Business and Hotel Management in particular benefits from some of the facilities in this building, such as the electronic boardrooms, co-located with library facilities, breakout rooms, and a very significant law collection. And in this context, I'd like to pay particular tribute to the Griffith University Fund for coordinating significant contributions from donors to the Suzanne County Law Collection at the Gold Coast campus. The University Campus Administration has moved from a number of sites on the campus to be centrally located in what is now known as the Graham Jones Centre. This recognises the key role played by the founding director of the Gold Coast College of Advanced Education, Professor Graham Jones, and again it is a handsome addition to the architecture of our Gold Coast campus. Equally as important as the library was to our students was the opening of the lecture theatres. And many of our graduating students tonight can have not so fond memories of taking lectures at the trotting track and various other sites on our campus. Too late for you, unfortunately, we've remedied that situation. And as you can see, not only are they visually attractive, but they're also functional with the latest facilities, particularly with respect to electronic communications, and this will position students, and I hope some of you do come back to do postgraduate studies with us, well for the emerging technologies which are driving the directions of tertiary education. The Visual Arts Building is well underway, and this is particularly relevant as arts now ranks as one of the fastest growing areas of study at our Gold Coast campus. Complementing the development of the visual arts is the Drama Theatre, which is located in the Link Precinct and has already hosted the inaugural performance of Strangers in Paradise by the Seventh Wave Ensemble, which is a semi-professional company based on our Gold Coast campus. The Gold Coast campus has always had a close working relationship with its local community, and this community continues to support us in many ways. We have an agreement now with Conrad Stupiders, and they have provided a significant amount of funding for refurbishment already of a training restaurant which is less than 2 years old. I think before we allow any of those students to graduate tonight, Deputy Chancellor, we should make them all go back and do another course in the new training restaurant in case they've lost their touch. But as you can see, it continues to be an integral part of the maintenance of the very high standards in terms of providing facilities for students at this university. Approval has been sought to commence the final negotiations with the project manager for construction of student residences on campus. It's anticipated these residences will be available for the commencement of the 1998 academic year, and a prototype, as you can see, has already been constructed on site. The Queensland Government, the Gold Coast City Council and Griffith University have allocated $1.8 million towards the construction of an international standard athletics track on the oval of our campus. This project is due to be completed by November and will significantly improve the international profile of many of our sports management and exercise science programs. A science building, planning for this building is well advanced to be constructed at a cost of $8 million, and it will be located in the vicinity of the nursing building to provide teaching and research space for the schools of applied science and health science. As the Deputy Chancellor has indicated, a considerable amount of refurbishment has taken place throughout the campus during the year, and in particular I would like to mention the refurbishment of the MBA area, providing again dedicated facilities for our MBA students. 1996 was an outstanding year in many ways for the performance of our students. In the sporting arena, we performed above all expectations. For such a small campus, we came third in the Australian University Games on a student population basis. 6 of our students were selected to represent Australia at the World University Games, and 4 of our students represented Australia at the Olympic Games, with 2 of them, Duncan Free and Catherine Bourchier, winning bronze medals at Atlanta. The Student Guild continues to be proactive in the development of facilities for the students and is working with the university in the construction of an avant-garde arts cafe to be associated with the Visual Arts Building. This will assist in developing more student facilities at the eastern end of the campus and can only benefit students throughout the whole campus. pay at this stage a tribute to the deans of the Gold Coast campus who have been instrumental in bringing about the high standard of academic scholarship that we are able to see exhibited in our students. Professor Paul Ryder, Dean of the Faculty, his period of Dean expires in June. I would like to pay particular tribute to Paul for the outstanding work that he's done during his stewardship as Dean. When he took over the management of this faculty, less than 1% of the academic staff in the faculty had doctoral qualifications. Through his intense arguing and scouring the world, more than close to 70% of the academic staff in the Faculty of Business and Hotel Management this year had doctoral qualifications. And we've recruited staff from the top universities throughout the world. Professor Ryder deserves special commendation for his unrelenting drive to ensure that students who study in this faculty of the Gold Coast are exposed to the best teaching and research staff that we can possibly attract. I would also like to pay tribute to you, the students who are graduating tonight. As you are well aware, we're a campus that has grown very, very rapidly. In 7 years, from 800 students in 1990 to 5,600 today. And you have been an integral part of this growing process, and it's had its growing pains. But I think that all of my academic colleagues would have no hesitation in saying that we would never have achieved what we've had without the commitment and the drive of you as our students to do the best, to achieve the best, and to set very high standards for all of the students to follow in your footsteps. I thank you very much for this commitment. I wish you well in your chosen careers, and I will ask you to keep in contact with your university through our Gold Coast alumni, because that is one of the most powerful bodies in terms of assisting you throughout all of your careers and keeping in contact with your friends and colleagues at the university. Deputy Chancellor, it's a pleasure to present this report tonight. I believe the Gold Coast campus has come of age in terms of its national and international profile in the pursuit of excellence in scholarship and research, and we look forward to the challenges of the years to come. Thank you.
I now call on Professor Paul Ryder, Dean of the Faculty of Business and Hotel Management, to present the graduates from the faculty who have received their awards at this ceremony this evening.
Deputy Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Advanced Certificate in Golf Management. Brendan Drew. Stephen Manuel. Deputy Chancellor, I present the final gaggle of graduates from the Faculty of Business and Hotel Management who have been granted the Bachelor of Business. Dale Aikenhead. Jane Allen. Damon Anderson. Douglas Andrews. Neil Andrews. Tara O'Quang. Christian Baggerson. Alicia Bailey. Raina Valentine. Barrett. Timothy Batkin. Darren Belford. Paul Bennett. Robert Benstead. Tanya Berenger. Louise Bernays. Megan Black. Michelle Black. Sharon Blakeway. Peter Bliss. Paul Boggiato. Aaron Barry. Lisa Brown. Stephen Budd. Lindawati Budianto. Stephen Mugler. Robin Ann Cameron. Jennifer Porter. Nicole Chan. Suzanne Chinnery. Jason Chu. Kerry Clark. Abby Clay. Matthew Cleland. Vanita Coleman. Leanne Conley. Catherine Conrad. Andrew Crombie. Carol Crowley. Mark Cunningham. Sandra Daly. Corey Dawson. Kevin Delmar. Alexei Dimitropoulos. Carolee Doggett. Micah Trevor Dutton. Sally Dwyer. Darryl Dye. Maureen Enderlin. Michelle Farr. Simone Farrell. Paul Fenton. Dennis Foley. Chris Frangie. Damien Fry. Robert Fuller. Anita Garrett. Serena Goldring. Caroline Gogan. Rosalind Green. Paul Gregory. Tristan Gregory. Jenny Hanson. Suprani Hasuk. Paul Helen. Max Hempel. Lynn Higgins. Deputy Chancellor, our next graduate comes to us fresh from 4 wins in the rowing at the Surf Lifesaving Championship at Currawong today, so he's feeling a little tired after that. It's Mark Hobart. Vicky Hogan. Bernard Holmes. Aaron Hung. Meiko Ishikura. Wendy James. Yasmin James. Lindy Jensen. Deborah Johnson. Tanya Jovanovic. Liam Kenny. Veronica Niles. Helen Nebo. Paul Marks. Joan Coe. Melinda Corcher. Silla Lee Long. Xiaopin Yang. Annette Lind. Ching Ni Yu. Clark Livingston. Darren Luck. Anthea Lyne. Donette McCallum. Elizabeth McGregor. Tavia McNaughton. Narelle Madden. Glennis Mack. Belinda Martell. Victoria McConnell. Peter McFarlane. Stacey McGregor. Terry McGuire. Tracy McLeod. Lisa McManus. Shane Melrose. Violet Mingle. Andrea Merritt. Linda Mills. Anton Wittmann-Gruber. Scott Moller-Nielsen. Justin Morgan. Alison Murphy. Sue Ann Cooney. Lynette Nisbet. Darren O'Brien. Joanne O'Brien. Andrew Oates. Sally Opie. Gillian Pearce, Sam Phillips, Andrew Pinkard, Edward Polish, David Potter, Kim Rasmussen, Vanessa Rigney, Adam Roberts, Suzanne Solway, Kuldeep Sandhu, Vanessa Sheldon, Adam Smith, Jonathan Smith, Reynard Smith, Shelley Smith, Emma Splatt, Rhea Stannard, Yvonne Stevenson, Renee Stokes, Carly Sutherland, Cara Swift, Jennifer Talbot, Greg Taylor, Christopher Teng, Troy Theobald, Jacqueline Thompson, Jodie Thompson, Felicity Tracy, Stan Treadwell, Carly Tremlett, Peter Treshman, Bachelor of Arts in Japanese, Susan Wilson. Deputy Chancellor, may I present the first graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Business in Professional Golf Management, Rick Anderson. Sean Constable. Jonathan Wright. Deputy Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Hotel Management. Megan Banks. Shadi Bastani Rai. Julie Brown. Joan Carlini. Anarietta Dura. Kate Gibbons. Vanessa Hall. Jodie Holland. Nolene Hooker. Li Chen Xu. Paula Judd. Nandan Kalyanipu. Louise Kennedy. Caroline. Peter Lock Kwan Leung. Jade Lim. Sandia Yu. Shannon Lowe. Emma Martin. Natalie Mason. Paul Melville. Raina O'Hall. Michael Orr. Jeremy Patmore. James Plume. Wendy Chang. Sally Walker. Kelly West. Samuel Woodger. Stephen Wing. Sandy Yang. Laura Yu. Deputy Chancellor, I present a graduate who's been granted the Bachelor of Hotel Management with first class honours, Elizabeth Redline. Deputy Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Hotel Management and the Bachelor of Arts in Japanese, Kristen Bolton. Wendy Chadwick. Paula Coleman. Tanya Garbach. Mariana Rukavina. Deputy Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Master of Tourism Management. Emerald Chu. Sharon Hannaford. Yongju Kang. Mei Chan Kuo. Suntarin Sri. Deputy Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates of the Faculty of Business and Hotel Management.
Deputy Chancellor, the Chair of the Academic Committee, Professor George Carney, will now present a candidate to be awarded the University Medal. This will be followed by the presentation of a graduate who has been awarded the degree of Master of Philosophy.
Deputy Chancellor, the University Medal may be awarded in recognition of academic excellence to a graduate who has completed the requirements for both a bachelor's degree of the university and a degree with honours. Deputy Chancellor, I'm pleased to present a graduate of the Faculty of Business and Hotel Management who has been granted the 1996 University Medal, Elizabeth Doris Redline. Chancellor, tonight the University is proud to honour a graduate who has satisfied the rigorous criteria for the award of the degree of Master of Philosophy. Deputy Chancellor, the title of Suzanne Emily Maloney's thesis is Participating in Budgeting, Business Unit Strategy and Managerial Performance. Deputy Chancellor, I present Suzanne Emily Maloney.
Ladies and gentlemen, there will now be a brief musical interlude performed by the Griffith University Chorus.
Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to now call on our Vice-Chancellor, Professor Roy Webb, to introduce our guest speaker this afternoon, or this evening, Professor Fred Hill.
Deputy Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen. Our guest of honour, Fred Hilmer, is a Professor of Management within the Australian Graduate School of Management within the University of New South Wales. He holds a degree in Law from the University of Sydney, Master of Law from the University of Pennsylvania, and a Master of Business Administration from the Wharton School of Finance, where he was appointed a Joseph Wharton Fellow. Professor Hilmer is the author of a number of books, including When the Luck Runs Out, The Future for Australians at Work, and New Games, New Rules, Work in Competitive Enterprises, Strictly Boardroom and Working Relations, which is the co-author, Management Redeemed, Debunking the Fads that Undermine Corporate Performance. Professor Hilmer has extensive experience in both the public and private sectors. He was appointed Chairman of Pacific Power in 1995 and is Deputy Chairman of Westfield Holdings Limited and a Director of Foster's Brewing Group Limited. Until recently, he was a member of the Commonwealth Higher Education Council and Chairman of the Business Council of Australia's Employee Relations Study Group. Prior to joining the Australian Graduate School of Management, Professor Hilmer was a Senior Partner of the international management consulting firm McKinsey & Company. While with McKinsey, he directed fundamental reviews of a number of major private and public enterprises. In 1991, the Australian Institute of Management awarded Professor Hilmer the John Story Medal in recognition of his distinguished contribution to the advancement of management thinking in Australia. With such an impressive background, he was well qualified to act as Chair of the National Competition Policy Review Committee during 1992 and 1993. The recommendations of the Hilmer Report have been highly influential. They will have profound effects, particularly on the provision of services by all levels of government. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to call upon Professor Hilmer to deliver this evening's occasional address.
Thank you very much, Professor Webb. I had absolutely no hesitation when I got Professor Webb's letter inviting me to come here and speak tonight to you on what is always, I think, a special occasion after all the work and struggle and long nights and probably too many short nights that go into the completion of the degree. And the reason is something that Professor Webb left out when he went through my background. It's not something that you normally put in a resume. There's in fact a lot of things you don't put in a resume. And in fact, a good resume is as important for its omissions as is what it says. But what I didn't put in my resume, and what I don't think people usually do, is where they went to school. And more years ago than I'd like to remember, I actually went to school here. I went to Southport State High School. I lived up on the Esplanade. I rode my bike every day across into Southport and up the hill. And then I rode it back home and was one of only two at the time who, having completed what was, by all measures, an excellent education here on the coast, was only one of two who then decided that we ought to go on to university. It was probably the wrong decision. I think those of my classmates who stayed on the coast made their fortunes, and the rest of us, I guess, wrote books. But I was delighted to come back and to see how education here on the Gold Coast has really flourished. To see that there's a university now with a very large campus here, that there are, in fact, a number of high schools. When I was going through Southport State High was the only high school. The kids used to have to come up all the way from Coolangatta on the bus. It was only my last year that they opened Miami High, and the people from the lower coast had an opportunity. And of course, all of that is unrecognisable today. So I was delighted to have the chance to contribute, at least in some small way, to education here, because the education here was certainly important to me. Now, what I'd like to talk with you about is the subject of competition. And in particular, I chose the subject confronting some myths about competition. Now, that's a subject that I've been interested in for a long time. It's a field that I studied in, it's a field that I practiced in when I went out and consulted with firms, trying to help them come up with better ways of competing, competitive strategies. It's a field I wrote about, continue to write about. It's a field I taught in. And then, a few years ago, it was a field where I had the opportunity to develop a national policy. So it's something that's fairly near and dear to my heart. And in doing all of that work and practicing in this field, clearly I have a bias. And that is that competition is a good process, it's a healthy process, it's a positive process. It's something that's going to be very important to us nationally, because what competition does is offer us the best solution to any of the social problems that we have. And that solution is high growth. High growth in the economy, high growth in jobs, and low inflation. Now, when we talk about competition, people firstly misunderstand competition and say competition means unbridled competition. Well, it doesn't. None of you compete in an unbridled way. Competition always occurs within a framework of rules and a framework of values. And it's that kind of competition that was proposed and is being advocated by the National Competition Policy. And that's the competition that I want to talk to you about. And none of you are strangers to competition. You compete in sport, you've competed to get into this university, you've competed to get through your degree, you compete to get a job at the end, and as you go out of here, you're going to work in an economy that by any measure will be far more competitive than it was when I went to school and when I came out of university. And I thought I'd talk about a few myths because I think they might help you understand where some of the arguments about competition are going wrong. And if you understand that, it might help you then compete more effectively. So let me talk about 4 myths. The first myth, one we often hear, is that competition destroys cooperation. Now, the reasoning goes something like this. You only get 2 choices in the world. You can either be competitive, striving, type A, hyperactive, or you can be non-competitive, you can be cooperative, which is nice, friendly, warm, cosy, and you can't have both. Now, we all know that cooperation is very important. Cooperation is important in science, it's important in the development of ideas, it's important in business. You see large successful firms, those like Coca-Cola, National Australian Bank, Westfield, as evidence of teamwork and competition. It's important, as I say, in sport. Teamwork, cooperation is very important. So the argument runs this way. Cooperation is really important. You can't have competition and cooperation. So therefore, competition must be a bad thing. Now, there are a few flaws in that argument, and I won't pause here and ask you to write them down and then have a discussion as you might do in class, because we're through all that. But there are some obvious flaws in that argument. And to me, the most significant flaw is that competition and cooperation are not mutually exclusive, but they coexist very happily. And some of the most competitive people I know, some of the most competitive firms that I know, are firms in which, in fact, there is a high level of competition, a high level of teamwork. I talked to you about Coca-Cola. The Coke wars, the Coke versus Pepsi wars, are something that perhaps you read about and studied as a case. But that's a pretty competitive industry. And yet, within that industry, you have cohesive teams and strong teamwork. You see the same thing in sport. You get out on the field and you compete like mad, but you're not competing as individuals, you're competing as teams. And the teamwork is as important to your competitive success as is your individual performance, and often more so. So competition and cooperation aren't enemies. They aren't bedfellows that can't lie together, but they're integral parts of the same idea. And in fact, competition, I believe, will promote greater teamwork and greater cohesiveness. the most successful competitive teams are the teams that are the most effective cooperators. The second myth that you hear is that competition is going to make us all mean and selfish. Yep. Again, we have this picture of a competitive person replete with horns and a devil's spike. And that person is supposed to be mean and selfish, and then we have the nice, non-competitive, cooperative person. And that person is mean, they're generous, and they're not selfish, they're caring. Again, you'll understand the flaws in that logic. There's no reason why those two things have to be the only kinds of people. There aren't just two kinds of people in the world, mean and competitive people who are mean and selfish, and non-competitive people who are generous and caring. And again, a quick look around blows that myth away. People can be quite caring and quite competitive. And you see that, again, you see it in sports, where people who are quite ruthless competitors will give back a lot to their sport. People like John Newton and Tony Rhodes, who played fiercely, competed fiercely, will then go and coach and help young people come along. You see it in business, where the firms that struggle in competitive markets at the same time can be generous in their support of either community activities, or generous in helping employees, or generous in terms of making donations. And we're increasingly seeing that in Australia. And you see it even with the large families that have amassed enormous wealth in this country by competing effectively. Families like the Packers, the Murdochs, Lowies, Bratts, who have been at the same time extremely generous. There is no requirement that somebody who's competitive is by definition mean. And in fact, that myth is one that I object to because it really misses the point. We're mean and we're selfish, not because we happen to work in a world where we compete. But if we're mean and selfish, it's because our values are wrong. And you have to ask, where do those values come from? They don't come from competitive markets. Our values come from our home. Our values come from our schools. Our values come from our literature. Our values come from the media. Our values come from our families. Our values come from our religions. And when all of those things make us mean and selfish, then we'll compete in mean and selfish ways. But when those things make us caring and generous, then we'll compete in caring and generous ways. And you do that by having rules for competition that are sensible rules and that people abide by. Again, it's the same in sport. You can be a good sport and still a fierce competitor. And you can be a bad sport and a pretty rotten competitor. So the idea that it's competition that makes us mean and selfish is another myth, and one that you ought to understand squarely. Because it's going to be important for you to compete, but it's also important for you to compete as good sports. And recognise that just because you're competitive doesn't mean you can't be, at the same time, a good sport. Now, a third myth is a little more complicated, and that is that competition is making the gap in our society between the haves and have-nots wider. It's increasing the distance between, say, the top incomes in society and the bottom incomes. It's making us more unequal. Now, let's look at what's going on in our society. Is that gap increasing? Yes, it is. Is it increasing in other societies? Yes, it is. Is competition increasing? Yes, it is. Does competition, therefore, cause this gap to widen? I hope you won't say yes without thinking, because if you do, you will have forgotten one of the early lessons of your statistics course, which is not to confuse correlation with cause. Because at the same time as this gap's been increasing, we've had more TV channels, so I guess TV channels are causing income inequality. We've had more PCs, we make more telephone calls, and we live longer. And it's not clear to me that any of those things cause income inequality. In fact, there's an interesting book written by a couple of American economists called The Winner-Take-All Society that analyses this phenomenon. that the gap between the top and the bottom in almost every field is widening. And they make the point that it has nothing to do with competition per se, but it has far more to do with technology and scale. Let me give you a couple of examples. Technology. Technology today is such that if you produce something that's very good, you immediately get that good or service out into the whole world. And so the benefits of giving are enormous. You take a CD. You're a rock group and you're here on the Gold Coast and you play and you make a few takes or CDs and you may make a living. And that will get you a certain amount of income. Now, if, however, you're able to break into the international market, then with CD technology, with the rapid dissemination of songs, your worldwide hit brings you untold amounts of wealth. And so you see the technology that distributes books, records, meaning that the people who produce worldwide hits become very much richer as a result. You see the same thing in sport. Everybody wants to go and watch Tiger Woods, and people don't want to watch regional golf tournaments anymore. But that's not a function of competition. It's a function of the kind of technology that we have today. It's a function of our modern world. And the other factor that causes inequality is scale. Organisations are bigger. The world is more interconnected. And with large scale, the value of getting something right is much higher. So the people who can make a marginally better job of something or other are going to earn huge returns because that marginal improvement in performance is magnified by scale. And when you think about it, you come up with something in McDonald's that allows a hamburger to be made for a fraction of a cent cheaper. But that same hamburger is being made not just here on the Gold Coast and not just in Australia, but right around the world. So the magnification of benefits is enormous. But it's not a function of competition. It's a function of technology and scale. Now, if you then want to address the issue of income inequality in general, don't point the finger at competition. You need to think of other solutions. You need to think, for example, at fundamental tax reform. The fourth myth is that competition wipes out jobs. Now, you would hope that that is a myth because you're all out there now in the job market. And I can assure you it is a myth. In fact, one of the main benefits of competition policy, as the Industry Commission analysed its consequences for the Australian government, was that it was employment positive. And there's no better evidence of that than what's going on here at the Gold Coast. When I grew up on the Gold Coast was just beginning to be a tourist destination. And if you wanted to fly here, the airlines flew parallel schedules. You probably don't remember that, but there was 2 planes a day, and they left Sydney at the same time and arrived at Coolangatta at the same time. The fares were enormous, so people drove. If you wanted to call Sydney, it was a major part of your weekly savings to have a decent talk on the telephone to someone back in Sydney. Today, we've had job losses in both telecommunications and in air transportation. Remember the pilot strike. But we've also seen the $200 and less fare between the Gold Coast and capital cities become the norm, and we've seen the ability to communicate electronically become not only possible but very cheap. And both of those are the result of allowing competition to do its work. So what happens when people say competition reduces jobs is that they just look too narrowly at the job that is lost, and they don't think about the jobs that will be created. But as you've had lower fares, as you've had better and cheaper telecommunications, you see the growth of areas that are dependent on tourism in very dramatic terms, and not just here, North Queensland, Western Australia, many other parts of Australia. And the positive side of competition is, in fact, far going to outweigh the negative side. So in summary then, we've had 4 myths about competition. that competition can't live with cooperation. Untrue. And if you believe that, you're going to fail as a competitor, because the best teams are also the best competitors. Myth 2, that competition makes you mean and selfish. If you use that excuse, you've got to look a little more deeply within yourselves, because if you're mean and selfish, it has very little to do with competition, and very much more to do with who you are and how you've been brought up. Myth 3, that it's competition that's causing this gap between the haves and have-nots. It's not. There are a lot of other changes occurring, and you've got to come to grips with them and compete in that environment, and not seek to ignore the facts of both technology and scope. And I'm sure none of you will, because that's an important part of your education. And myth 4, that competition wipes out jobs. Well, it doesn't. It does destabilise. That's why a lot of people don't like it. But at the end of the day, more is created than is destroyed. And that's why I started by saying I'm so positive about competition, because it can lead to high growth and low inflation. And that's the way we'll deal with our social problems, by bringing people into the productive workforce, not by other means. So as graduates, I believe you'll be better served if you understand these myths as myths. And if you don't get sucked into saying, well, I shouldn't compete because there's something bad about it, but if instead you get out there and you compete vigorously, you compete effectively, you compete fairly and ethically, and you compete with a bit of humour and a bit of compassion. Because if you do that, I think you'll win. And if you've done that, then I think you really will have gained from this education. I mean, one more thing I want to say to you. I want to congratulate you all warmly on your achievements, and I want to wish you well in the future, and remind you that there's nothing that you can't do with a Gold Coast education. Thank you.
Deputy Chancellor, Mr. Norman Fussell, Vice Chancellor, Professor Webb, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me much pleasure in expressing a vote of thanks to our distinguished guest, Mr. Fred Hilmer, for his challenging and informative address this evening. As you will recall from the introduction, Mr. Hilmer has had a distinguished career as a lawyer, senior businessman and academic. However, much of his career has obviously been involved in business and the academic world. Tonight, Mr. Hilmer has presented us with some very persuasive arguments in favour of competition in all areas of life. He has built his argument around what he refers to as the 4 myths. The first, competition destroys cooperation. The second, competition makes people mean and selfish. The third, competition intensifies between the haves and the have-nots. The fourth, competition wipes out jobs. Mr. Hilmer went on to effectively dismantle each of these myths methodically, step by step, and strengthen his argument in favour of competition. I'm sure we will all leave here tonight pondering many of Mr. Hilmer's compelling arguments in support of competition. It was also interesting to note that he was the chairman of the National Competition Review Committee and responsible for the report, the Hilmer Report, which I guess is almost a family word today in our country, and particularly in those families where they have business and economic students like this. It was also interesting that he was really a Gold Coaster, a Southport boy, and I'm sure that brings a smile to many faces here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we have been most fortunate in having Mr. Hilmer, a distinguished Australian, to give us his illuminating address here tonight. And I now ask that you may join with me in thanking him with acclamation.
the ceremony is now concluded. When the fanfare begins, please rise and remain standing as the dais party, the staff procession and the graduates retire.